Alright, is everybody in attendance here?
Yep.
Now then, for those spectating, please refrain from screaming and doing anything ridiculous. As much as I have a disdain for this human being, I'm going to try to keep a civil tongue. Keywords being tried. Success rate will be determined by how it goes. So what exactly is your idea of like a perfect societal model?
A perfect societal model? It's not based off money. It's based off just being able to help people however you can help people. I mean, people do what they can do. I mean, like, people may be able to only do certain things. Some people may be able to do more than others. And you can't always make generalizations based off people's, gender, because many people are different. People are different in their own way. People can do this. People may be able to do that. I mean, what can I tell you? I mean, that's just how it is. People are as open as they are. Some people are more open than others. Some people are more, it all depends. But society usually has the whole way of looking at things. Oh, that if you do something that is against the social norms, oh, that means it's barbaric, or it means it has to do with power, when it doesn't have to do with power.
What you don't seem to understand is this is not based on generalizations. It's based on statistics and statistic likelihood.
Yeah, I understand. I understand the point of what you're saying. But the point is, you have to realize statistics are only based off what the majority wants to hear.
No, it's based off of what's most likely to occur.
But the whole thing is...
Jonathan, do you have your speaker on or something? You're echoing.
Yeah, he's feeding back. Do you have earbuds or something?
Nah, I don't do no earbuds, unfortunately. I'm in the basement, though, here. That's why I'm, basement's the quietest place.
Okay, could you mute when you're done talking, then unmute when you have something to say, because then you're not feeding back.
Oh, I see. Alright. Alright now. Oh, that's right. What the hell am I doing?
Question.
Alright, let me see.
Alright,
Pardon me. How do I mute myself? Because I'm hitting the microphone and it's only going up to manage user. It's not. That's odd. That's really. Maybe what the hell?
Just turn your volume to a little bit lower.
Oh, I see. Oh, alright. That sounds cool. Alright. That's cool. Alright. There we go. Or should I turn the speaker off? Is that better? Maybe I should turn the speaker off.
You could, but you might end up stopping yourself from hearing everyone.
No, I can hear you, but that's
alright, that works then. Kind of holy Italy ball, you had something to say?
Why do you tell me and others to die and stuff?
Because about it just irritates. I feel like I'm trying to be
You're cutting out a little bit here and there.
Nobody has to be born this way. You
gotta fix your mic. You keep cutting out, so we're hearing only bits and pieces of what you're saying.
Let me see. Hey, is this better? Is that better?
Yeah.
Alright, so that's better. Yeah, and the thing is, Italy boy, I don't like when you say stupid things and you try to say, oh, I can't spell. Just because I can't spell don't mean shit. I'm trying to put my point across as best as I can. Maybe I'm just good at speaking better than typing. Some people are good at both. Some people are better at one or the other. But, anyways.
How would you expect a societal model like that to come about?
And to come about, first of all, we would have to evolve past a lot of things. We would have to get past this idea that we see kids as extensions of ourselves, when they're not extensions of themselves. They're mostly going to learn how the majority of people think, because that's what they're mostly around. Even though they need to realize in themselves they're their own vessel and their own individual, and they need to, figure out what works for them and what doesn't work for them, and understand that not everybody has an evil intention.
So
As I've
do
said,
you think a 5-year-old has the capacity to like go out and work a full-time like 40-hour a week job?
unless there's probably like job sampling or somehow, I don't know, some way to teach them certain things. Because I've heard like kids start cooking. These kids can start cooking. I've seen videos of kids learning basic recipes and they slowly, like, some people learn slowly, some people learn faster than others. It's all based on what type of learner you are too. There's all different type methods of learning. Like, some people are good at visual, some people are good at following instruction, some people just need demonstrations how to do things. That's basically the whole, that's the whole thing. And I understand when you go back to a certain time, yeah, like, the child labor laws were terrible. But, but there was always aspects and things that were good. It was just based on how people could do things, how did people do things. But it was just the whole idea. Yeah, I didn't agree with it personally, but at the same time, you should not be doing a heavy labor when you can't do heavy labor. Maybe you would have been good just to be able to help bring things or help, because I used to help my mother like when she would do stuff outside and bring things to her when she needed help, because that's what I'm capable of doing. I might be able to help her in other aspects, I may not be able to help her in other aspects, but that's just, it depends.
Like,
Like,
why did you call myself and other people slave masters?
I'm called you slave masters because I feel like you're not looking at the real issue, like minorities going to prison because of drug related problems. And even though, for instance, like, they should not be going to prison, for instance, because it's ridiculous. I mean, if you're non-violent and stuff like that, you don't belong in a fucking prison. If you're not some guy or some person going around trying to be, trying to look at everything in a barbaric power type of way, and your intention is not to trick anyone, then, what's the big deal? No one, you have to evolve past bullshit. And I hate it when you call me caveman. Yeah, I get a little angry, but I get a little angry because I get tired of a lot of the bullshit you people say. Oh, like friggin' Athena saying, I'm an incel school shoot. That's not fucking funny. Kids getting killed because you got some madman going in there instead of like sitting down and actually thinking, is that going to really make the world better? By shooting a group of people. And I might say things that are not very logical sometimes. I can man up and say that. But at the same friggin' time, it's like, what do you expect? What do you expect when you say things dumb? And I feel like when you say, if I don't know how to spell correctly, you're insulting what I'm saying. It irritates me. And then you're insulting Mike when he's a nurturer, and he's very close with his cousins. He plays with them. Why the hell would he ever, force them or trick them into something they're not aware of? And I'm not insinuating he does anything, because that's not I don't know nothing about that. I don't know. I mean, he just brings up and same thing. I played with my cousins for Christmas. Like, I was playing with their new Switch. They wanted me to play, and I just played, and that was that. And then they wanted to play their own game, wanted to play by themselves in their other game. That's cool. That's cool, dude. It's cool. Like, same thing. If they want to, I don't initiate the hug. They feel comfortable of hugging you. They feel comfortable of hugging you. They don't feel comfortable hugging you. They don't feel comfortable hugging. That's just how it is. People are more open. Even strangers. You can wave to people. They're going to wave back.
That's not an example of being open. That's just someone being polite.
But then that's the thing. Like, here's my whole thing. People have this mindset sometimes looking at the world like, oh, if this person's nothing to you, this person's nothing to you. But why does people have to look at things like that? Why can't people look at it? You don't have to be anything to me in order for me to care. I can look at everyone that is a good person, that really wants to, see the good in things. I'm trying to be an optimist here. I'm trying to understand that, we can all understand each other. It doesn't matter religion, it doesn't matter gender, it doesn't matter. I mean, I know you brought up that, that doesn't, well, of course it doesn't matter. I just get aggravated because I feel, the majority of people have a way of talking, but if we try to talk, we're automatically going to be put in the bad side. Like, because you have idiots like Elliot Rodge, and you got idiots that do things a certain way, and then Hypersonics is an incel, and it doesn't mean he's necessarily bad. He's trying to represent things his own way. Everybody's trying to represent things their own way. Charlie's trying to represent things her way. Jen was trying to represent things her way. Everybody's representing things their way. There's going to be extremists in all ends of things. There's extremist conservatives, there's extremist libertarians, there's extreme leftists, there's leftists that want to lean towards the progressive side of getting past shit. There's all different types of people. Even back in the 60s, there was different types of groups.
Trying to throw children into sexual situations isn't progressive.
Well, in your way of seeing it, it sounds like it's not progressive. Because you're looking at it from a caveman.
I'm looking at it from a realistic standpoint.
You're looking at it from a power
Objectivism.
type. I ain't looking at it from a power type of way of looking at it. I'm looking at it that they should have the right to know masturbation. They have the right to know that their body is theirs, and nobody has the right to
don't
force them
masturbate.
into any situation.
Teenagers do.
I mean, I was a little
Like
bit
kids don't have
different,
sex drives.
Because I started kissing like when I was a toddler not a cousin, a friend, family. Yeah, I remember. I was a little more open. I mean, that's just me.
Just because you demonstrate affection towards friends and family members doesn't mean that it's like a sexual thing.
But it can be. It can lead to. It depends on how open you are. Some people are more open than others. Some people are. That's just how it is. And and I'm not justifying, like I said, anal. I'm just saying in general that people might discover they have a G spot at a younger age.
Women have G spots, men don't.
But sometimes you have to look at it like some people come to that conclusion that gender can be a social construct.
No, it's not.
Because sometimes necessarily you may not necessarily possess you might have I don't know, maybe it has to do with DNA. Maybe
we have a transgender person who can say that gender is most certainly a real thing.
Yeah, it's a defensive statement.
I'm not trying to be offensive though. I hope you understand that. I'm not trying to be offensive.
But the fact is, denying biology just sounds like you're spitting in the face of the trans community because what they're trying to go through.
I'm not spitting on anyone's face because again, everything to me is subjective. But
that doesn't matter whether or not it's subjective to you or not, because your version of reality is not the same thing as what's true.
But at the same time, the only reason you're saying that's true is because that's the majority.
No, it's because it's likely by statistics.
But statistics are not always 100% right for the other people who are trying to say, well, maybe that's not always right.
Just because there's an exception to the rule doesn't mean that exception should become the rule.
No, I'm not saying that. See, you're probably painting me as this fact. I'm not saying that's 100 because I'm not the type of person saying, oh, we should destroy churches and stuff like that. No, I don't think that because there's aspects in religions that can be good. It depends how you're using an ideology and how you're using something. I know sometimes I come off of my videos a certain way because I'm angry. I'm not in a good state of mind, but and at the same time, when people say a lot of dumb shit, that trying to poke fun, it's not really funny because you're not really trying to understand, what my whole message is.
What is there to really understand, though? Jesus Christ.
What is there really to understand? But see, that's the whole thing. That's for you to want to see it or not. If you can't see it, that's just how it is. That's just how the friggin',
what is that damn noise?
That's the radiator down here. I'm moving over here so I can get away from the noise. But anyway, continue.
My point is, you're trying to say that people should see it from your perspective. It's like, well, your perspective is more or less based upon swatting away things that don't agree with your personal opinions.
And it really has nothing to do with just my personal. And it may sound like it doesn't have to do with my personal, because you only got a few people that are fighting for change in aspects. See, that's why it's coming across the way it is. That's why it's coming across. But that's what I'm talking about. If you're a minority, people are going to look at you as selfish. But see, if you're in a part of the majority, people are not going to look at you as selfish. That's just really it. I mean, I'm just, Mike and like me and Hypersonic and people that want to see change and don't want to be part of the stereotypes and how they see incels or how they see. Because again, I don't really hate women. I just get a little bit of annoyed that I feel like sometimes they don't try to understand males and other aspects. Because to be frank with you, I would have gone to the Women's March today. Not that I agree with the abortion. Not that, I don't agree with the abortion. It's just the fact that, I just don't understand. The whole thing is, it's like, I don't know, for instance, what women are. I mean, you got all different types of people. And I don't believe in this whole overpopulation crap.
It is a problem, though. We have 7 billion people on the planet, and half the time you don't even have enough elbow room to walk into a restaurant.
But I look at it from a bird's eye. That may not necessarily be a bad thing because
yes, it is.
It's called understanding other people and trying to we can share this world. That's my way of seeing it. I'm an optimist, dude. That's just me. See, I'm an optimist in aspects.
John, here's the problem. If you have too many people and not enough resources, you create a society that becomes desperate for resources. And
that's my
war
whole.
breaks
That's my
out.
whole.
People start killing each other for resources to survive. This is not a theory. This is a fact.
Because we shouldn't have to kill. Because we shouldn't have to kill each other. We should
It
be
doesn't
getting past
matter,
that
John.
last
If people are
thing.
starving to death, they're not going to care what they have to do to get food. If there are too many people to feed and not enough resources, they're going to go to it just to survive.
That's why I don't personally like this whole capital system.
Capitalism isn't based upon overpopulating and then making everyone starve. It's based upon, hey, if you work hard, you can buy whatever the fuck you want. It's not the same thing as like putting people in an area where there's too many people for one enclosed space and they all start fighting over resources.
But people may not be able to hold jobs. Then if they can't hold jobs or they don't have the right mentors or they don't have the right services to help them. Like I'm getting help from a service to help me get a job because it's not like I'm not a person that doesn't want to work in aspects. It's just many people may not be able to work as hard as other people or as much as other people. You only go with the pace you can go and do what you can do. I mean, that's just how the cookie crumbles. I mean, but anyway, but my whole thing is, it's like I think anything can be reformed. Even capitalism can be reformed. Anything. But even though I think personally we should have another system based off mutualism, based off how can I help you? Even if I can help you by basically sitting here talking with you. Like because you feel like you're depressed and you feel like you're alone and you feel like you're not understood. Or say, for instance, I can help you. Say I can do something simple for you, like be able to put a waffle on for you, or be able to say, for instance, all right, I can do laundry for you. All right, I can, say, for instance, if you want to look at it in a sexual way, not that it has to be only in a sexual way. It could be in many other aspects. People can do what they can do. People can, like I said before, people do what they can do. Some people can do more. Some people can do less. Some people can do. That's just how it is.
I got a question.
Yes.
Why did you offer to be a third for my and my fiance's relationship?
And again, that is kind of wrong in a sense because you already hinted like true, like you were not into the whole idea and the fact that you don't really know me. That's very true. But at the same time, I'm looking at it that hey, it's good to experience. But then if you're not open for a new experience, what's the point of me even bringing that up?
Why would you do that at all though, considering the fact that you have no idea what these people are into and then you immediately come out with that?
Well, I look at it like, hey, bring that up, and then you bring up what you're into, and that's the way the cookie crumbles, dude. You bring up what you bring up like what your perks are, what your non-perks are, because I'm an open mind. See, I'm willing to reach my hand even to enemies. I'm not willing to, fight really, unless you really are a fascist and you're really a threat to other people's ways of life.
Do you even know what a real fascist is?
Oh, well, there's many. You can go back in age. There's plenty of fascists.
I'm not referring like the historical sense of a fascist. I mean the actual definition of someone who behaves in a fascist way.
There's Joseph Stalin. I mean, but then you have to look at it from a bird's eye perspective. Also, people can look at people as fascists, even though they're not really fascist to other people. Like even Herbert Hoover could have been considered a fascist to some people because he didn't handle certain issues that that he was called a humanitarian. Even though really, when you look at it now, he was not a humanitarian because everything changes. Norms change. Exactly. Pardon me. I never claimed to be the best at pronouncing or those are my flaws. And I talked to an older guy who's like he's pronounced a professor. And he even looks at my flaws and he tries to help me. He doesn't try to make fun of me for my flaws. He tries to be patient and tries to, you know what I mean?
Athena wants to know why you seem to have like this major dislike towards her.
I don't like I just don't like how sometimes I don't know. I just don't like it because she just friggin' says things that are just stupid, like an incel, like being an incel shooter. I don't go for that crap.
It's a joke.
That annoys me. Well, but it's not funny because there's real incel shooters that go out there and shoot people, and they're giving a bad name to what incels are trying to be. Not exactly what the hell how Elliot Rodger did that.
Most incels are incels because most women aren't interested in someone who sits around and moping all day, blaming other people for their flaws.
Even though, to be quite frank with you, I don't have to sit and blame people for their flaws. I can understand people for their flaws and love them for their flaws.
No, I don't mean the flaws of others. I mean their personal flaws, and they try to blame other people for having their own flaws.
Because I feel like there's not people there to try to sit there and try to understand them and understand that they're still human and they're still a person and they still mean something in their own way. And
well, what about Charles Manson? Could we use that argument towards him when he was alive?
No, because he didn't have probably the right mentors to kind of teach him. You don't have to go that route. You don't have to.
What do you mean go that route?
He didn't have to go that route and be a friggin' serial killer.
He didn't kill anyone. He just made other people kill people.
Oh,
Still
that's
bad.
right.
But
I was thinking about I was thinking about someone else. But when you brought up that started hitting me. It's a shame because he used his charm in the wrong way. He used his charm in the wrong way. He could have used his charm to It's all how you use whatever abilities you're given. It's all how you. That's why you take it one day at a time, as I say, because you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. That's why I always try to be optimistic. Don't let the world grab you, grab you by the neck.
do you think that a 5-year-old has the capacity to actually consent to having sex with someone?
I mean, if it's really, really, really close, for instance, to a person, and this person proves to himself not as an aggressive, but proves to be like a nurturer and be like an older friend that they know they can go to talk to about anything, and I mean anything. I think personally they can start to have affection for you and start to kind of like, not that you need to use that affection as a weapon. You can use that affection to say to them, you can go as far as you want. You're your own individual. You create your own destiny. And it's good because it builds up their character and it builds them more confidence. Then they don't have to worry when they get to be older to be kind of like fearful. They have they can be kind of more open and try different things and it's not even just when it comes to sex. It's about going different places. Because I didn't have anybody like when I was younger, I used to just be a video game person because I didn't know anything else. No one had the encouragement to kind of get me out to do other things. People need the right mentors. And then you wouldn't have this whole problem in the frickin' first place. But pardon my French, though. This is supposed to be a civil, anyway.
The point I'm trying to make here, John, is that someone that is not very mature, who has little to no life experience, who knows nothing about anything yet.
Mature? But what is mature, though? That's my
someone who's been alive long enough to actually experience things and then be able to draw their own conclusions from the experiences
you
themselves.
make a point in a sense, but you need to also realize they can be kind of mature depending on who they're around, depending on what mentor they're around.
So what you're saying is that the person's company just magically makes them develop faster mentally than other people.
Well, I'm not saying for everyone. Maybe some people are just some people like you have people that go to school that are gifted, that are gifted at certain things.
Just because you're gifted academically does not mean you're ready for other things more than your peers. It just means that you happen to be better at school than others.
But that all varies in what you're talking about. It doesn't have to just do with school. It can do with a lot of other aspects of things. It's really
the only point I'm trying to make here is that you're trying to more or less give people the understanding that someone that has no real life experience, they have not matured enough to actually learn the ins and outs of certain behaviors and certain conduct to know whether or not there are certain rules that relate to it.
Visual representation, have visual representation.
So you want to expose them to something that they might not even properly intuit.
Well, you have to absorb it. You have to absorb it with them and see how they're seeing it. And then you try to explain, no, it doesn't have to be used in this content. It could be used in this
Do you think a 5-year-old's really going to fucking understand that?
But then again, who am I to say what they understand and what don't understand? They're their own being. What can I
A person being an individual does not change their ability in terms of their likelihood of maturing and learning things at a higher rate. Some people may be more advanced than others academically, but that does not change their average IQ.
But they can be more advanced in aspects in trying to understand the good in humans rather than just look at the evil in humans. Because
this is not a matter of like people being objectively good or bad. This is the fact that someone that does not understand a particular topic should not be thrown headfirst into it just because someone gives them a very vague understanding of it.
But then again, that's how you feel. I mean, I don't feel that, but that's just how, you know.
So what you're saying is that if there's like a 10-year-old that wants to go into war and they have no idea how being shot at actually is, and because they heard it's good from someone that says, yeah, I liked enlisting in the Marines. It was fantastic. We had a great time riding around in Humvees and on the back of tanks. And he joins the military and he gets shot in the face.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's cute, and I'm not saying I agree with that, but let's be honest here. You had people that lied about their age, like even back in War II. But if you want to go even way back in ancient times, you know, there was always things around you. There was war. There was this.
We're not talking about that. We're just talking about the general. We're talking about the general aspect of throwing someone into a situation that they're not ready for.
But at the same time, you know, sometimes you have no damn choice. I mean, I'm not saying I agree with that. Let's be friggin' frank here. I'm not saying I agree with war. I think we should evolve past all this bullshit, personally. But, you know, but...
There's no such thing as evolving past the normal human instinct.
Yeah, but it all depends on the environment and the culture and what you're mostly around and how you gonna see shit. How are you gonna see shit?
A person's individual perception does not change reality.
But then again, in time, that individual perception might actually slowly, you know, hit other people. Maybe not in this era, but maybe in another era where we were able to reform things like in other countries, and then we can really become a United States rather than being divided by other countries. Because I believe one day we can do that. I believe we can do such wonders as people. It all depends how we do shit and how we come together.
World peace is a pipe dream and a stupid one at that.
I wouldn't say it's a... Never say never. You know what I'm saying?
I say never when I know it's unlikely.
I mean, you have
My house
to have
is gonna
hope,
burst into flames never.
Because what else do you got? Because what else do you got if you have no hope and no love and, you know, what are you looking for?
There's a difference
I'm
between
just
being
talking to
blindly vitriolic,
an associate. All right.
and then there's just someone simply saying this is unlikely because statistically it's not going to go well. Societies that came before us were unable to accomplish it, and they didn't have nearly as much reasons to go to war,
Because that was the
which means that we're not even half as likely to do that.
Because you had the barbaric ways of looking at shit.
It's not a matter of barbarism, it's a matter of the fact that, as a species, humanity has base instinct when it comes to conquering land and securing resources for their population or for their culture. And the point being is, like, every human population does this and continues to do this, not because of some giant, giant puppet master who's like manipulating them to like steal resources and secure money. It's more or less just saying, hey, we need to make sure that we have adequate space so that the people within our land can survive and propagate and prosper. But that's not the result of war. That's a result of people simply wanting to expand to ensure the survival of their societal models. John, do you think that a 5-year-old, for example, like if there's a grown adult walking around and the adult is like walking around unclothed for the sake of argument, and like you think a little kid like walks up and starts touching the adult's genitals, do you think that's completely fine?
Well, and you're going to try to trap me and say, "Oh, this is just for your own benefit."
No, I'm just asking because you don't seem to understand what that could actually do in the wrong situation. Well, in any situation, really.
Well, you made a point in the wrong. You made a point in the first time, in a sense. But anyway, no, because I look at nudity as it's a natural friggin' thing. It's natural. It's natural. It's just all natural. Nudity. I mean, even old people. I don't necessarily like old people. I might not be attracted to it, but I look at it. You know what? That's nature. That's how it is. I mean, when you're born in this world, you have no damn clothes, and when you die, you basically are going to become dust. I mean, unless say, for instance, there is the theory of reincarnation or any other type of, theories to things. I mean, you never know. I mean, I'm not the type of person to judge people and say, "Oh, you're crazy." I'm not even trying to knock down atheists. I'm just trying, but the
reincarnation really isn't even a theory. It's just a belief. Like a theory suggests there actually has to be some kind of evidence.
And I understand when you're looking at it from that point of view. I'm not, But anyway,
The point being is, do you think it's okay for a child to touch an adult like that?
I think so, but I think an adult itself should not do it to a child because, first of all, the child's not educated to understand that, not educated that it's its own body and that no one has the right to force you and no one has the right to trick you into something and no one has no right. I mean, it's the same thing if you're trying to say the whole thing about like, oh, there's good touch and bad touch. Well, who's to say that something's good or bad? It might, you really have to figure out what your limits are and what something is and what something's not really. I mean,
and what happens if someone goes by your standards and get hurt?
Because I'm not looking at it from the whole idea of like anal, and I ain't looking at it where they can possibly be hurt. I'm looking at things like nurturing. I'm looking at like maybe kissing or cuddling or rimming or massaging.
Rimming is a sexual act.
But you can also look at it that it can actually be a thing of nurturing. Because
There's nothing nurturing about licking someone's asshole. That's a sexual act. That's all there is to it. This is not the same thing as like handing someone a drink or getting someone food or wrapping someone in a blanket when they're cold. Like that. That's a sexual act.
This is kind of off topic, Gage, but do you mind if I invite Mike M because he wants to join?
I would, because really the last thing I want is him trying to scream over everyone and bring up anecdotal studies that no one takes seriously.
But you do or you don't?
I don't really want him here for a handful of reasons.
Oh, okay.
Because I know for a fact that if we bring him in here, he's going to start linking stuff that no one's going to take seriously. The point being is, John, there's a difference between, like my niece, for example. She's 2.5 years old.
I have a question. Would you want Hypersonic to join or no?
He would just do the same thing Mike does.
Oh, well. Nah, alright then.
Thing is, though, my niece is 2.5 years old.
Continue.
When people leave, when people have to go home or go to work, she'll run up to them, give them a hug, and kiss them on the cheek. But that's simply the result of showing affection to the family because she's happy that people came to visit her. Because she's a baby.
Yeah, but affectionate can go deeper than that. Not that I'm saying that people for instance, it's going to, but
just because people have the capacity does not mean that it's okay.
But at the same time, why say it's not okay?
Because it could actually cause psychological harm.
But then again, it may not. But then again, why say it can cause psychological harm?
Because it's likely to cause psychological harm. Like, that's like me putting a loaded revolver to my head and saying, odds are I'm gonna blow my brains out, but who knows, I'll try.
But that's a gun. That's just a gun, though. But
Thing is, though, it's a proper analogy, because the likelihood is incredibly high that something bad's gonna happen. Like, if your house is on fire, for example, do you just, go back into the house despite the fact there's a good chance you'll get hurt?
Yeah, but at the same time, if somebody's in there that you love...
It's not a matter of someone else being in there. I mean, knowingly doing something that could hurt yourself, regardless of the fact that there's no chance it could end well.
Well, sometimes it's bravery. You have to... But then again, who am I to say? Because I'm not that type of person. But at the same time, if you're going to do something that's risky for a reason beyond something, a reason beyond a person's of wanting something, or say for instance, they want to help someone or they want to. You might as well. I understand where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from in your point of view. Don't think I don't understand.
I honestly don't think you do.
Well,
because every time I try to leverage that concern, you immediately swat it away, or you diminish it to the point where you treat it as though it's nothing more but an afterthought.
But at the same time, yeah, it's an afterthought, because it's like, you have to realize, that's not fixing. I feel like that way of thinking is not going to fix anything. That's just
so being informed about the dangers is not going to help anyone.
No, I'm saying, yeah, when it comes to things, yeah, inform the dangers, but understand the fact that, depending on how we do things, there might not be no danger in that.
Keywords being might. Might. Not won't. Not can't. Might.
Because that's where, because we haven't reached that type of society yet.
No, it's because there's always a chance for harm in those types of situations, and you're just trying to finagle people into believing that there isn't.
Because again, I'm not against monarchy. Like, what? Because I actually talked, to be frank with you, I know this is off topic, but I've talked to a girl on Discord that, you know, she believes in future monarchy. I can't pronounce.
You mean matriarchy?
Yes, matriarchy. Yes. You know, she has pretty good ideas. I mean, but then again, you can use the fact that what if a woman wants to use her power the wrong way, just like certain males in Asian times, and even in this era. But at the same time, you know, I'm not against women. Don't think I am. I just get a little angry because I feel like, you know, they have more support. They can have women's marches. There's no marches for us.
Yes, there are.
Because we're minorities. Because we're minorities, unfortunately.
A voice for men has marches for men almost every march. Like, it's the march of men.
Yeah, I've heard Paul Elam. Yeah, I've heard of him. I've heard of him before. But it's just the idea. Yeah, they talk about certain issues, but what about other issues? You're going to be kicked out of it then.
Because the issues that you want to preach are not actually male issues. The difference between talking about the male suicide rate and the disproportionate amount of men losing custody of their children during divorce, or victims of female-on-male sexual assault and female-on-male domestic abuse, those are real problems that men can get behind and raise awareness to.
Oh yes, indeed, yes. And then this whole idea that men don't want to get married because they feel if they're going to get. I listen to Sam, man. I mean, he could be a little more extreme, but the point is that he makes a point in a sense. That what's the point of getting married? I've even listened to Snake, that guy that, you know, I forget his Snake. I'm trying to think. He was Midtown Itachi originally. He made some good points. Like this whole idea, why do we go to college and why do we do this shit when college is rigged? He makes a damn point.
He said a whole bunch of liberal arts stuff.
He makes a point in a sense about a lot of things. He's right. You know, I'm not.
So because he said something that might be mildly subversive, that's immediately right.
And that, because the whole idea is you're paying all this money or you're taking money to go to college and then you get a friggin' degree. You might not necessarily get a fucking job. You might not even be. You might get a job. You might be only able to go work in fucking Burger King. And what's
only
the point
if you have a degree in gender studies.
Listen to a dumb friggin' professor who tells you this bullshit. That's the one thing I'm against public schools. You go to these schools, they tell you all this mindless bull. They tell you this bullshit about what they want you to hear.
So they teach you about math, literature, and history, and it's all bullshit.
I'm not saying it's, but see, I'm my words again. It's not bullshit, and I'm for the experience. Like, don't get me wrong. But here's the whole thing about it. When you look at it from deeper perspective, it all depends on who's telling the fucking story. It all depends on who's telling the damn story. You know, that's really what you have to look at. Like, this one day is going to be a piece of history we're talking about. It may not be, say, for instance, you know, like well known, but at least, hey, I was a voice and you were a voice in your own way, and I was a voice in my own way. Mike was a voice in his way. Amos was a voice in his way. And everybody,
I thought you didn't like Amos.
Oh, personally, yes, in a sense, because he can be kind of narcissistic. And, you know, I mean, Hypersonic could tell you a lot of things. Mike could tell you a lot of things. Many people could tell you a lot of things about him. And the sad thing is, he was very convincing and kind. But see, he hurted Charlie's feelings. He played with Charlie's feelings and stuff like that. I mean, she should be telling you this. I really have no business telling. It's really not my business to even bring it up. But the whole idea is that I just didn't like him. He just did the way he acts. Like, you know, he's someone who's really selfish if you really want to be funny. And he was trying to read books to try to, like, you know, overcome that. But at the same time, I guess it didn't help him. He just turned out to be himself all over again. Like a selfish, you know, jerk off.
My point is, like, what types of issues do you think groups like A Voice for Men should take up that they're not taking up?
Well, the whole idea, why is it that males will still have to be stereotypical? Why do we have to be still stereotypical that we have to act a certain way in order to attract women? Why can't we have science, and why can't we have advanced things? That way we can finally be equal to women rather than them just being equal to us. You know? And the whole idea is you were bringing up in your live stream about, yeah, I might not understand the pain women go through or the cramps they have to go through, but I feel like they're going to have more support compared to we have.
So you actually watched the stream.
Oh yeah, I watched a little bit of the stream.
I find it
I
weird that
didn't
you,
watch it.
like, did you subscribe or did someone just link it to you?
No, because you left a comment. You left a comment.
Oh, I
on
see,
on
so you
my
attract the
post.
comment back to the channel.
Indeed, yes, yes, yes.
The point being is, do you think a voice for man is really obligated to sit there and say, we want to be able to get impregnated?
But at the same time, I can understand why, because they're like kind of like more of the like more of like on the conservative spectrum.
No, it's
rather
because
than
it
me.
doesn't
I
make
would
any
say-
sense. Like, what's the point of, like, being pregnant? Like, what would that really do?
Because then we can finally say to women that, hey, we understand exactly what you're going through. You can no longer say that we're this and we're that. And
So we have to
that's my
take
whole
everything
point.
that they have just because we could.
But at the same time, it's not about taking over. It's not about replace. See, people think it's about replacing people. It's not about replacing people. It's about being able to connect to people much deeper on a deeper level, and then you're able to kind of like, for instance, like you've heard of the term male lesbians. There's some males that feel like they really are like lesbian. There's some
That's
that
what you call
basically,
being super straight.
well,
Like, if a man is attracted to a woman, that's just a straight guy. Like, a transgender person who's transgendering from, like, male to female, that person could be considered a lesbian if they have a partner who's female or transitioning to female as well. Like Jennifer.
Yeah. Again, and Jennifer's gonna see what she's gonna see in me, because she's gonna see what she's gonna see in me. That's just how the damn thing
It's
is.
not based
People
upon
see
what
it
we
on-
see, it's based upon your actions.
People don't really.
Like, you
understand.
threatened to take
People-
off a 17-year-old's head.
because he's talking a lot of nonsense. He's talking a lot of shit about me. What do you think I'm gonna do? What do you think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna spin around like what do you call it? Like a friggin' like showgirl and stuff like that, and smile and giggle? No.
No, you don't have to do that. You can just simply point out the fact why someone would be
If you're
wrong.
gonna be fucking stupid, if you're gonna be friggin' say stupid shit to me and not have a reasonable conversation like this, like what you're doing, then don't fucking speak. Then don't fucking come on the page. Then, don't come on the damn page. I don't need to listen to that bullshit. I can put on something negative and listen to other bullshit. I can listen to other toxic assholes. I mean. Remarkable. Anyway.
I just don't think you really understand the message I try to get across, because it seems like no matter how I word it and how bluntly I put it out there, it seems like you immediately just backtrack over it and pretend you're not aware of what it means.
I understand your side of the whole thing.
It's not my
just
side, it's not my opinion, it's basically an objective fact. It's not my point of view, it's what people can more often than not attest to, regardless of their orientation, race, or political leaning.
Unless it'll change one day when I'm.
It's not gonna change. I can say this because likelihood is incredibly low that people are just gonna start doing what you want them to do.
Not that it always has to equivalent how you're seeing it, because
It's not a matter of how I see it, it's a matter of the fact that the message you're trying to push is children are smart enough to do X amount of things because they can do very simplistic tasks that require little to no understanding.
depends on how they're being taught, and it depends on the society.
So what you're saying is that if someone grooms them and convinces them it's okay, it's the same thing as them having been alive long enough to actually be able to properly intuit the situation.
But that's up to how they want to see it, and it depends.
What do you mean
on
how they want to see it? No, I don't know.
People get nerve. People get people are nervous. People are more open. Some people are more, like I said, you got different people or see things a lot differently than other. That's just how it is.
Do you want to know something interesting? A person being curious about something, it's not licensed to exploit that curiosity.
But curiosity, but then at the same time, it's fine. Why do you say it like that? Because curiosity is an okay thing. It's all based on how you're using a curiosity. Are you using it in a way to kind of like control? Are you doing it to kind of like help them have positivity so they can like, spread their positive message so they can help, reform and not become the past of things and make a better tomorrow for people? Or is it about friggin', control and power? It's all based on what is it you're trying to accomplish?
The reason I worded it that way is because realistically, when someone tries to expose a child to something sexual, not when they're a teenager, not when they're going to sex ed, not when they're doing things that would actually allow them to be educated, for the sake of just understanding the risks. Like when someone exposes a 9-year-old to something like that, it could actually really badly fuck them up.
I understand. Yeah, I see your side of the whole thing, but then again,
But then again, what? Like,
But
what is
then
there really
again,
to say?
It goes back to my whole argument. What if God? What if it's not necessarily the way?
So what you're saying is that everyone's just supposed to completely forget all the chances for harm, just for the sake of a what if?
Because let me say something about this. Because I never thought of this in a lot of years. I could remember personally, when I was younger, I heard my mother on the phone with my father, and I will say this, and this is definitely true, that she says, "Hell no, you're not gonna let her like this woman come and kiss me or touch my area." Even though I can kind of like look at it now and say, I'm happy it didn't happen because number one, you don't touch a kid's genital. That's power. Now, as far as trying to see if they want to kiss or something like that, or if they want to touch an adult's genital just to learn, because they're learning, because it's a learning aspect of doing something, then yeah, then okay. But never ever do anything. Never ever an adult should touch a kid, because if you touch a kid, first of all, it's not educated, and last but not least, it's not educated to what's going on. I mean, I agree with Charlie when she says informed consent. It's absolutely, right.
Informed consent for a child is retarded. And let me
Why
explain
you
why. Telling someone that has no real, like telling someone that has not been alive long enough to actually develop mentally to the point that where they're actually able to understand and memorize all the ins and outs of certain behaviors and understand them for what those actually are. And people like her and Stetson and Amos and Savannah Ape and so on and so forth try to convince people that this 7-year-old that has like no real understanding about life, they should be allowed to make life-changing decisions that could result in forever psychologically scarring them. And if you don't disagree with me, if you don't agree with me, you're just some kind of bigot. Insert long list of boohoo nonsense that no one's going to take seriously afterwards.
Well, I mean, in a sense, I can kind of understand where they're coming from, though. But then again, I'm not agreeing with, again, like I told you, I'm not agreeing with the, somebody like, touch and fondle on it. I don't agree with that, with fondle on a kid. I mean, teaching it that if it wants to eat pussy or if it wants to explore, like, then it's fine. Because, you're teaching, you're educating it. Hopefully that gives it a positive experience. So when it kind of like, it'll kind of like when it.
So what you're saying is you want them to be taught that being sexually exploited is somehow okay.
Doesn't have to be exploited though.
Well,
why does what
would you classify it as? If the person's just more or less say, "Hey, you see this? Go do it."
It's an education.
It's not an education.
Well, it's not
because they're not being explained
about
safe sex practices. There's no information about STD or STIs.
Well, that's what you do then. You add that to the thing. You brought up a good point. We'll add that in then.
So someone that isn't smart enough to understand the basic thing is then supposed to somehow understand things like condoms and safe sex.
I mean, look it. They used to have it on the TV, like, saying that, well, somebody has no right to touch you in your area. Well, duh, no one should touch you in your area. But as far as it goes, you should definitely learn masturbation. Or if you want to,
a kid doesn't learn that because a kid doesn't need to do that. Like, kids don't have sex drives.
But then again,
But then
do,
again,
though.
nothing.
Some do.
Like, okay, so you're saying that like a 12-year-old who's starting to become a teenager, that somehow counts as like a 7-year-old.
But everybody matures in different ways, man.
That doesn't matter. You keep trying to use these weasel statements.
Not weasel stay. I don't know.
It's
why
more or
you
less,
say
well, what
weasel
about this? What about that? It's like, yes, what about that? Like, are the exceptions to the rule just supposed to be drafted as the rule?
I mean, when we get maybe a bigger, like, majority, like when they become more kind of like in the majority, then perhaps. But
What do you mean in the majority?
When there's like more of them and stuff, like when we can see more of them, just like hey, when LGBT, I mean, it took a while for them to manage.
That's not the same thing. That's an orientation that has nothing at all to do with like mental development.
I mean, I think ageism is a big issue.
It's not ageism. Like, being responsible with what someone does with their body is not the same thing as discrimination. It's like, hey Timmy, don't put your dick in the toaster.
Well, why would you want to put your dick in a friggin' toaster?
Because a kid wouldn't know any better. Like, some kids wouldn't know any better. That's exactly the point. Like, educating someone about risk is a lot more understandable.
You bring up a good argument, but like, my whole thing is, what did Prohibition ever accomplish, to be honest with you? What did that ever accomplish? That's why we have cartel. I know this is a different subject, but it's just the point that, I mean, what has Prohibition ever accomplished? It just makes it even worse. That's why we have a war on drugs in the first place. I mean, Prohibition just never made any sense to me. I don't know, to me, it just never. I know it's a whole different topic I'm bringing up. But I'm just saying Prohibition in general, you know what I mean? Just never made any sense. It's all based on how people carry themselves and how people do shit.
But the thing is, just because someone doesn't do something like overtly violently, it does not mean that it could not hurt someone. Do you think a child molester walks up to a kid and says, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna insert sexual acts violently to you, little Jimmy"? No, they don't do that. They play nice. They pretend that they care. They lull these people into a false sense of security and build a connection to the family so they have access to this person.
They're the cunning sons of bitches that give a bad name to fucking people.
But that's not the point. The point is, you are knowingly suggesting that people that do this kind of shit care about kids.
I mean, I care about them. I'll die for some of them,
If you really cared about them, you'd understand that defending the things you defend could actually fuck them up. Like, if you really gave any degree of a shit about how kids turned out, you wouldn't be defending the same type of media that ends up contributing to them being trafficked and victimized for a profit.
Doesn't mean I agree with the trafficking. I don't agree with that way of thinking.
John, do you believe that it's okay for a child to, like, have sex with someone on camera for money?
Because I don't believe in the aspect of money. I mean,
but the point being is, do you believe that it's okay a kid do that?
I mean, if the kid is all right with it, but the whole idea is that
how would a kid know if it's all right with it? Like, if someone can't even make decisions to do, like, if a kid can't be trusted to make a competent decision in anything, realistically, then why the hell would it be able to make a life-changing decision that could forever scar them?
Depends on it depends on the society we're living in.
Society doesn't make the damn difference. Because just because you happen to change a rule doesn't mean it's bad to the person that's being affected. It just means that it's no longer against that rule. If rape was made legal, it would still be bad, regardless of whether or not the law says it's bad.
I wouldn't support rape because that's the reason why everything became illegal in the first place.
What do you mean everything?
I mean, even like, say, if you're going way back, I mean, you could probably go way back in history where certain acts, even for other humans, say that's immoral. But when you look at it, it's not really immoral. It depends on how you're doing something, and it depends on if the person understands where you're coming from or not. That's really what it all boils down to.
The point being is, do you think it's okay for a child to do that? It's just yes or no.
I don't agree with the money aspect because again, I don't believe.
But for some type of reward.
Not even for a reward. It's just for the sake. It's just for the sake of,
Well, do you believe it's okay for someone to do that in general?
Well, I'd have to say yeah, my book, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm agreeing with the bad.
Do you want to know what? Do you want to know where most of those children come from? Sex trafficking rings. Like most of the children that participate in that shit come directly from sex trafficking rings. By consuming the media, you are knowingly supporting these people.
Doesn't mean I want to support these. It doesn't mean
But it doesn't matter if you want to support them or not, John. When you consume media that involves that, you're more or less giving them a helping hand to circulate it around and increase their market.
You have to blame. Again, I blame the society we're living in.
Oh yeah, blame society, but don't blame the people doing it.
Oh, yeah,
I blame the laws, not the people molesting the children.
Because by prohibition, you're making criminals.
What you think it would just get better if we had like more children legally going as far like legally walking around psychologically fucked up? Do you really think that it would get better if you made that shit legal?
I mean, let's be frank here. I mean, making it illegal in my book, in my way of seeing it, it's just going to make it work, because prohibition just...
It's not the same thing as power booze. Because when you refer to like child sex, it's something that most people immediately abhor. It's not the same thing as something like weed or booze that a lot of people enjoy.
Yeah, but then again, who's to say, like, in the future, people are not going to enjoy other things because they'll have ways of controlling things.
There's no such thing as control when it comes to that.
Maybe with technology, who knows? Anything's possible, dude.
You gotta stop going about this anything's possible shit, because it's not true.
I mean, oh yeah, I mean, I understand.
You can't travel back in time.
Now it's not true. Now it's not true. Right. Not true now, but in time it will going to be true, and I promise you that.
You can promise whatever you want, but no one's gonna believe it.
You know, that's just...
The point being is, if you made that legal, for example, there'd be a lot more people walking around psychologically fucked up. Because they'd be convinced that it's normal, and they would not have the ability to understand that, yeah, someone's not supposed to be doing this to you.
But at the same time, how is that really trauma then?
Because they're not going to know any better. They're going to go their whole life believing it's normal, and they can end up hurting themselves or someone else if they end up doing the exact same shit someone did to them.
But at the same time, how is that really hurting them if they're not really protesting against it?
So if someone knocks someone unconscious and proceeds to rape them, and they're not conscious and aware of it, does that mean it's okay?
Well, now you're bringing in violence and rape in it, dude.
That's exactly what the fuck it is. It's basically just buying someone off with pretty words to make them believe it's normal, and then doing it to them when they're not really smart enough to understand the long-term side effects. That's really what it is. If you're just to take away all the pretty language and all the aversions, that's exactly what it means. Like, if you were to put all the evasions down and just, back away from it, that's exactly what the fuck it means in the long run. That's exactly what these things constitute. I mean, you can dance around it all you want. You can tap dance around it and just try to sidestep it as often as you feel you should, but that doesn't mean it's not a problem.
But do you think I should be assassinated for saying this shit?
I don't think you should be assassinated for saying it, but I do believe that you could probably get a psychological evaluation. Because a lot of the things that you say sound genuinely delusional. And that's not even me trying to be spiteful or vindictive. I legitimately think you have some sort of psychological issue that needs to be examined.
But then again, you're going to put me on all these prescriptions, and then I'm going to get addicted to that, and then you're supporting...
Most prescriptions aren't addictive. Like, those types of prescriptions, you just take one a day, and that's it. Like, they're not addictive, you just have to do a regimen.
I'm just...
Like an antidepressant. Like, you're trying to act like someone being in a better state of mind is like somehow not them being in the right state of mind.
I'm just trying to understand everyone here,
Well, what
man.
about someone with schizophrenia, for example? Do you think that their medication should not be, like, they should not be, like, obligated to have meds if they're hearing, like, voices in their head telling them to stab their neighbors?
Schizophrenia. I know two people with schizophrenia. My friend Ed takes care of his wife who's schizophrenia. You know, she's not a violent, one. She's just very passive. She goes to bed. She does what she can do, and Ed loves her, and they
But she
love
does.
each
But
other.
does she take her meds?
Oh yeah, she takes her meds. And then you got my friend Joe's friend Ronnie. You know,
No, I don't know who the fuck Ronnie is. And now his mic cut out again. I think he lost connection. You might want to fix your mic.
I apologize. I was getting a phone call.
Cuts out again.
Friend. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, I was getting a phone call. That's why it went the way it.
You gotta find a place to position your microphone because you're cutting out hardcore left and right.
Oh, shit.
I'd find something to, like, just stand your phone up on and, like, sit a few feet in front of it.
Oh, I see. You know, you brought up you brought up a good point. You brought up a very good point. I'm actually, that's actually, I like that. I like mutualism. See? Now can you hear me good?
I can hear you fine. That's not really mutualism. That's just trying to make sure everyone can hear you. That way, when you say something, everyone's aware of what you're saying. I'm not doing it for your benefit. I'm doing it for everyone else here. And then he cuts out a little bit again.
I'm so hard.
The point being is, like, medications are given out to help people cope with problems. There are some pharmaceutical companies who have been caught doing really scummy bullshit, but that's beside the point. We're talking about people who actually have good accredited records of genuinely helping people who are taking the medications. And the medications, more often than not, they're not meant to be addictive. They're just meant to make sure that they work. Like, more often than not, someone with schizophrenia or psychopathy is going to take that medication. They're going to end up usually being like 10 times better than someone who starts skipping their pills. And now I can't hear him anymore.
Still.
He needs to find a place to sit with that because I don't know if he's talking now or if he's just trying to figure out where he's going to sit.
I'm talking. You know what? Let me try that. That's. Let me go. This thing is so stupid. That's stupid.
It's the same shit I was doing. I was recording with my phone.
Damn. It's the damn. I did.
It's pizza time.
Say it. Pardon me. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Continue what you.
And if he is talking, I can't hear him. I just hold my phone like a little bit below my face, just near my mouth, so my mic can pick it up.
You hear me good?
A little better.
Oh shit! Hey, these still. Ugh. Anyway,
the point I'm trying to make here, John, is that just because a person objectively disagrees with you, it does not mean they're part of like some sort of giant Illuminati shape-shifting reptilian conspiracy who controls the White House.
you gotta realize our secret. They basically are these outdated, and they want. See, they probably predicted. So they be crazy. Really dumb. We control how. Do you agree with me? We control.
There's a difference between a person controlling their own actions and then there's like psychotically believing that there's like a giant fictional sky man behind the White House telling you how to believe.
Because there's always somebody. Just because you might think you're a don't mean you're really the. You can be a chairman, puppet, but there's always some people. Look at the great guy. Close
You might want to find someplace that has better reception.
the living room.
I wouldn't like living room, bedroom, like whatever place you feel would actually have a better reception. Because I don't know if it's just your phone or if it's your microphone. I can't tell which because you keep going. You're cutting in and out harder than I do when I'm running 5 different things with my bandwidth.
It really stinks because I don't like putting my phone this far here because the radiation.
Well, at least now I can actually hear you now.
Yeah, I don't like putting the.
Take a look at your phone really quick. Look at it and try to see if you can locate where the microphone is. If you can find it, just talk into that because I think you're talking too far away from the mic, so it's not picking up the sound.
Is it better now?
It was. I think you found where the microphone is, and I just gotta talk into that.
Anyway.
My point is, you don't seem to really understand the severity of a lot of the things that you're talking about because you keep trying to make it sound like everyone is going to just become best friends forever when like someone's like convincing a child to do things that they might not, or in this case they won't really understand it.
And you may not become best friends, and you may not become. You may not. That's just how it is. Look, but you realize. See, when I was young, I was so different. But as I got a little older, people may be around, people may come, people may stay in your. That's just how it is. That's just how the top. Why dwell on? Try to be. Cherish memory, cherish good things.
But do you think
try to make the best of
do you think it would be okay though for someone to like exploit someone that has like no idea what's going on? Like just because someone can like nod their head in approval, it doesn't mean that they're fully aware of everything that's going on. Like that type of assertion does not help anyone. I don't know if he's, like, I think he cut out again.
I'm just looking.
Looking at what?
You see, kids.
And he cut out again. The thing is, though, when you talk about that novel Lolita, it's, like, fucking creepy as hell. Because more or less, if you want to get into like an actual synopsis about what that is, it's basically the story of like a grown man who pederastically thinks he's gonna fuck a 12-year-old. Which honestly is kind of fucked up. It's like, look at me, I'm going after this person that's obviously not as smart as I am, who can easily be lulled into a false sense of security and bought out with gifts and items. Aren't I clever? Aren't I a good man?
Doesn't necessarily.
Well, how about you actually prove it instead of just keep saying, well, not necessarily. It's like, that's not a rebuttal.
How can I prove?
Like, do you think a kid, for example, has the capacity to understand what a marriage is?
See exactly.
I mean, do you think a kid actually has the capacity to actually get married and really understand how a marriage is going to work?
Why does he marriage? It's another.
Just in general, do you think a kid, like most children, when they see things like relationships and marriage, it's because they are given unrealistic expectations by media? Do you think a child is going to be capable of actually fully understanding like an actual relationship or a marriage?
Then
He's cutting out again. I don't know if it's just latency or if he legitimately doesn't know how to speak into his mic.
it's better.
I think so. I don't know what the hell happened. Like earlier it was going just fine and now all of a sudden his mic.
Yeah, and I have. Maybe it's because.
And then it cuts out again.
Is it good now?
Like he ends up getting like cut off in like mid-word.
Is it good now?
You might want to find someplace with better reception because I think it seems like you're having a difficult time.
Not necessarily. Normally, know what the.
Thing is, do you honestly believe that, and don't say like depends on the kid, do you believe that the average child is actually capable of understanding what a mature relationship is when it comes to like dating relationships, like intercourse and marriage, if need be?
You're looking at.
Like, what way am I supposed to look at it besides like the most likely occurrences in those types of situations? I mean, if you look at Stetson and Mike Mattis, they both openly tried to like push the idea of like child marriage.
They really love you.
The thing is, though, a child doesn't know the difference between romantic love and platonic love because they haven't matured enough to really understand the difference.
Unless you.
There is no unless. Like, a child does not have the capacity to really understand what a relationship is because why do you think when teenagers mature, their brains, like, start changing, like, your emotions are all over the place? It's because you're developing the capacity to actually understand what a romantic relationship is around your teenage years. And the reason that people have such a hard time adjusting to it when they're
That's why you have
teenagers
guys.
is because their brain's still developing.
That's why you have certain.
I did not hear a single fucking thing he said after that last bit.
You have people like
This guy cuts in and out really bad.
it's good now.
Like, you need to find some place where, like, I'd head back towards the radiator. It's like you seem to have the best reception there.
Because I'm on call mode. Call mode. I'm looking at if you're experienced. Otherwise, I'm just.
Just leave the voice chat and come back in and see if it'll reconnect.
That's a good. That's a good. Actually, that's a good idea. All right.
He's gonna leave and come back in. See if we can actually connect. Holy shit. Holy flying fuck.
Alright. Hello.
Okay, now we can actually hear him.
Mazel tov. There we go.
Don't call him
Maybe
Mazel
that
Tov.
was because. Say again.
Don't say it Mazel Tov. Anti-Semite.
Mazel.
That sounds anti-Semitic.
Say again.
That sounds anti-Semitic.
No, I wasn't being anti-Semitic. I was just because I got that from my because my grandmother grew up with the Jewish people in the Bronx. You know, see, that's I picked that up when I was little. That's why.
Point thing is, do you think a child is actually fully capable of like understanding a marriage or like a long-term relationship?
I mean, you know, they can understand love. They can understand probably, I would imagine. It would really depend on how you're showing it things, how you're showing, you know, how you're showing things. They can understand friendships. They can probably understand, you know. Love can be as deep as you want, man. It's just based on, you know, based on how an individual sees it.
But a person's perception does not change objective reality.
But maybe that's why we needed to start looking at everything individually rather than just, we should be judging things basis by basis, like I said in my own video.
And if you judge things basis by basis, there's a chance that things could fall between the cracks. That's why we have like laws that are made to overarch all particular things. It's made to basically act like an all-encompassing situation to ensure that nobody has the chance to get harmed.
Oh shit.
Like the reason we have statutory rape laws and shit, it's not just because of some uppity dumbass who got mad that a 15-year-old fucked a 14-year-old. It's because of the fact that there are a lot of people who go after children online and so on and so forth, and it's designed more or less to act as a safeguard. It's meant to act like a second layer of defense. Thing is though, do you honestly believe that a child can actually understand like romantic love, even though usually teenagers don't even understand it?
Yeah, I mean, again, people can pick up things. It really depends. You know, it all varies.
Thing is though, picking up something is not the same thing as actually having the mental development to make those decisions. And actually be able to make them in a competent way to where you're actually sure what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like if the divorce rate, for example, in the country is 50%. And do you really think if people got married like to other teenagers, or if like someone gets married to like an adult when they're like 12, do you really think that marriage is gonna last?
It may not last, but that's
it
why
won't
I have
last.
The whole idea.
I mean, if adults can't stay married, what the hell makes you think a 12-year-old can stay married to an adult?
I mean, that's why I agree with more open relationships. That's just me.
Do you want to know why most people don't prefer open relationships?
Because people get jealous, and is that it?
Well, not even just that. It creates room for people to potentially catch VD. Not to mention the
nice
fact
of
that
you.
if you end up start adding people to your relationship just because you want to and not because you actually care, then it starts to become one of these things where everyone's more or less arguing with each other over whether or not someone has legitimate feelings towards them or someone else.
Well, I love. I mean, you can love more than one person. You can,
There's different
love
types
is
of
love
love.
can
There's
be
platonic
infinite.
love where you have your family, and then there's romantic love where it's a partner. Like, if you treat everyone like you're gonna fuck them, then you're not gonna know who you legitimately care about and who you are just attracted to. Because if all you do is if you judge who you love and care about by who you're attracted to instead of by who you actually feel things for, then it becomes nothing more but a hollow existence that will inevitably self-destruct. Thing is, you said you were non-exclusive, right?
Yeah, I'm non-exclusive. I love all. I love adults. I love you, like pretty much, you know.
Well, if you're non-exclusive, then why not just focus solely on adults?
Well, I shift sometimes. I shift. Sometimes I like adults. Sometimes I like, I shift.
Like, what exactly is attractive about a kid?
What's great about a kid is that it's a new mean. It could change things. It can become better than the past. It can become, it can, it can basically, it has its, a longer lifespan than say probably me. And
So
I'll
what
be
you're
able to
saying is you want to get something that's going to
I'll be able
last
to watch
longer, even if it's not
I'll
nearly as
be
good
able to watch
quality.
it grow. I'll be grow. I can watch it grow to become something greater. That's why I'm looking at it.
Like, so what? Like, I'm talking about, like, you said you have an attraction towards children. I don't see why that's an attraction thing.
I love them because I love them because they're innocent, but there's a lot of adults that are very innocent too, and they feel like that they can be really, because when you're an adult, everybody looks at you. Everybody looks at you just how they look at you. See, when you're a kid, you're in, and in a sense, an adult can be very innocent, and they can be childlike. And you may not be able to express yourself childlike to an adult because an adult is just going to look at you that, oh, you're an adult, this is this and that. I mean, at least with kids, you can kind of like, capture that, positivity within them, and you can kind of like grow with them, or you can kind of like, I mean, there's a lot of aspects behind it of why I like.
But the point being is, like, I don't really get the point of, like, being attracted to someone who is not capable of reciprocating those feelings.
But then it may learn them. It may learn them. It may discover them in time.
In time that it could have done doing other things that would have made it 10 times happier.
But at the same time, I'm not saying it should stick with me. It should go hang out with its own peers too. Learn different things from different people, man. That's how I look at it. That's why my grandma always used to tell me, "Oh, hang out with people your own age." When I was 15, I didn't want to hang out with people just my own age. I like to hang out with different people because you learn different things from different people. That's why
Do you want to know why she probably told you that?
Why?
Probably because she wanted you to socialize with your peers. That way people couldn't feed you preconceived notions that could end up messing your brain up.
But at the same friggin' time, doesn't mean that it's basically manipulated. Doesn't mean I'm easily manipulated. Because
I don't know, it kind of seems like you could be.
But if you have a good heart, like, how is that manipulation?
Just because someone spoon feeds you pretty words doesn't mean they really care.
Doesn't mean it has to be pretty words. And it doesn't mean necessarily that they're spoon feeding you pretty words. It can really be actions that mean it.
Like, you said you hanged out with someone who you thought, like, you hung out with someone when you were younger who you believe might have been like a child lover.
Oh yeah, I mean I could be wrong. We had a lot of memories. She would never do anything sexual because.
Don't you think it was a little bit concerning that those types of thoughts might have been in this person's mind and you still hung out with them?
No, not necessarily, because the person is not a controller. Is not looking at things in a power type of way. They just wanted to, like, like, talk about their past or talk about reminisce with them or try to, like, and it really did. I have good memories. I used to drink wine. I used to, like, they treat you as if, you're kind of like and sure, you can argue people can do that, but they can kind of manipulate. You're absolutely right, but not everybody has that evil in them. Some people just want to, like, understand that you're young. You want to explore. You want to, have an experience. I mean, that's just how it, you have to,
Why did you call everyone white supremacists?
You're white supremacist because of the whole idea that, let's be friggin' frank here. The minorities, most minorities, like, don't have a say in shit. It's usually the majority of people.
Is that why when people vote, like every race votes?
Yeah, true, but that's not the point. You're really voting for idiot people. They don't really care about people.
I don't mean like politicians, I mean laws in general.
I'm for anarchy, where people can just make the laws.
No, because anarchy doesn't work. Like, all you do when you destroy all the laws, when you, like, remove all the rules, all you do is create war bands.
Not that it has to do with war. We can all try to understand.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you remove all the laws, people start forming their little socialized groups, and they go out and do whatever the hell they want.
Doesn't necessarily mean, but
Like, if there's no threat of recourse for their actions, people will do whatever they want.
I look at everything. If you're doing things in a violent, like, a way, of course it's gonna be a problem, or a manipulating type of way. Then you should be punished. But but yeah. I don't know. Maybe one day when we're older and the society changes, maybe we can be friends and we can shake each other's hands and get past this feud.
It's not a feud. It's a simple disagreement.
I don't know.
Like, do you honestly believe that a person that has not been alive for very long is somehow going to have the same degree of understanding as an adult?
Depends how they absorb things, but
I'm not talking about, like, it depends. Like, do you believe, like, on a base understanding, with no prior information given, that a 12-year-old is just as capable of making decisions as a 25-year-old?
Yeah, well, again, that's, I can't answer that 100% because I'm just, because again, I look at that as subjective. I can't really say if it is or isn't. That depends on people.
Why is everything subjective to you?
It's subjective to me because, let's be honest, subjectiveness is the whole thing.
Subjectivism is a retarded thing that people choose when they know they can't actually hammer down a point.
Not everything is always going to be the way people see it.
What is with this giggling shit? You think you're being funny?
I'm not being funny at all. I'm just giggling because...
You think you're being clever?
I'm not being clever at all. Where are you coming to that?
I'm just saying, like, this is a serious conversation. You're giggling like you think you're saying something that's going to be subversive and witty.
I'm giggling because I feel it's true. It's subjectivism is the whole thing. Not everybody's...
Do you want to know what subjectivism really is? It's more or less a worldview that suggests that a person's opinion is more important than what's going on around them.
Because really, people make the statistics and make...
No, they make the statistics by analyzing occurrences and by putting it into data accumulators to determine how likely it is to occur.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just some made-up bullshit that people, like, shat out onto a form and then stuck to the wall. They say, okay, well, how many of these things happen a year? Okay, well, how many of these things occur because someone happened to trust this person? Okay, we got that. How many of these people that did these things to these types of people knew the family well? Okay, we got that accounted for. Now here's the statistics that we're able to gather using these criteria. Like, it's not as simple as just, like, getting numbers and smearing them onto a fucking page with feces. It's simply saying straight up, we know this is true. We know this is likely to occur because it happens very frequently in these exact situations. That's all it is. It's basically just an accumulation of data and information, analyzing it to make sure that it's as accurate as it can possibly be. That's all it is. It's more or less just making 100% sure that they know exactly what's going on. Like, you keep trying to, like, bash statistics, but statistics are factually validated. It's not because majority runs things, it's because more often than not, it is going to happen. Like, that's, to me, that just sounds like a lazy way to kind of rebut it, when you just say, well, majority.
I wouldn't say it's lazy, but
It is lazy, because it's more or less like you're not going into how it could be wrong, you're more or less just saying, well, because the majority runs things, it's bad.
everybody sees things how they want to see.
No, it's not a matter of subjectively picking, John. Like, statistics are objectively true. It's not based upon picking and choosing what you want to hear and then posting that as a fact. It's based upon going with what's more than likely going to occur.
Yeah.
I fail to fucking see why that's so hard for you to grasp.
Not to cut this short, but can we continue this another time? Because my, not that I'm not listening. I mean,
Alright, I'm free Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock EST.
8 o'clock p.m., correct, or a.m.?
PM
Oh,
Eastern Standard Time.
I would assume a.m. All right. Well, all I will say is have a great, afternoon, and all right, and hey, what can I tell you? Thank you for having me on. All I can tell you. All right. Toodaloos, then. Adventure.
What the fuck? Yeah, we're gonna continue this later, apparently, like... for fuck's sake. That hurt to listen to.
He just sat there and fucking rambled.
That's the thing I don't understand, like, instead of just simply saying yay or nay, yes or no, I can prove this or I can't, he's basically saying It's like he doesn't have the fucking... He doesn't have the honesty to just straight up say, you know what, I can't prove these things, or I don't really know. It's like, it depends. Like, that's not a fucking answer. That's more or less like you're trying to dance around what you're saying to pretend that it's not a big deal.
Yeah, there's a lot of insincerity as to what he was saying. Like, I could tell he was being very disingenuous about a lot of stuff.
That's what I felt, because, like, he's giggling and shit, like, hey, it's because I say so. It's like, that's not a fucking answer. Oh, what's up, Cedra? Nice to see you. Give him a couple seconds, because I'm sure there's some type of latency.
Yeah, man, don't worry.
That was interesting.
Yeah, that was a shit show.
In the terms of, like, soul aids. Like, I just don't, like, when I asked him a question, he's more or less, like, trying to weasel out of it by creating, like, situations that he thinks it would be justified in.
And none of them were justifiable in any sense.
That's the thing, he keeps trying to, that's, like you said just now, there's no justification behind it. He's making just a bunch of, like, little piddly excuses that are, like, somehow supposed to hold up when none of that would.
Some people, man. Like, honestly.
I think that, honestly, as much as I would not wish, like, pure, unadulterated death on this person, I do think this person does need to seek out some kind of fucking psychological help, because they are clearly not, like, all there.
Yeah.
Hey, I got an idea, though. Whenever he comes back later on, let's just have a bunch of people join in, make it open season.
It's like, well, I couldn't stop him. I nailed the door open and kind of wandered away. I just kind of nailed the door, its hinges wide open, and just kind of let nature take its course. I would request that the people that do it, though, like, if they have legitimate questions, just, like, let everyone else talk to. Like, don't do that shit where everyone's, like, yelling over each other every 30 seconds. Like, everyone just wait for the person to finish. And then if you got something to say it once John's done talking. Like, Try to see if everyone can more or less get into some sort of order as to who talks when. Like a draw straws, and then everyone, like, depending upon the number, so on, like, everyone talks in, like, that order.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do something. If it starts becoming more of a shit show, I'm just gonna start the vacuum cleaner to shut everybody up. Like, just because we all know the joke.
Yeah, the vacuum. I still love that meme that Mad God made where it's like, it shows like the fucking police lineup. He's like, that's him, officer, pointing at the fucking Dyson. Like, god damn it, that's actually fucking funny. That's actually goddamn hilarious. Thing is though, okay, I'm gonna finish the recording here and then I'm gonna get to work on putting it out there.
Right. Okay.